What's going on, everybody? This is Clint from the Die Hard MMA Podcast, and this is the Undefeated post-weigh-in show for UFC Vegas 32. We are coming to you from an undisclosed location. The Wi-Fi sucks. I gotta go quick. First fight of the night, Diana Belbita's taking on Hannah Goldy. Belbita came in at 114.5. She looked good. Her hair game is on point. And she is taking on Hannah Goldy, who came in at 115.5. And she is absolutely shredded. Hannah Goldy is a tank of a woman, and you could see every single muscle in her body. She was extremely sucked out. They expect her to fill up by fight time tomorrow. Now, when they faced off, it was apparent just how massive Hannah Goldy is in this spot. Height and reach advantage for Belbita. Obviously, she looked far more comfortable making 115, but we cannot deny the tankiness of Hannah Goldy. The only problem is I'm in here deep on Belbita. I got plus 160 way before the line movement, 2 units in. The line has gone down to essentially a pick'em, and money is still coming in on Belbita, which I agree with. She's minus 115 now. She's flipped to being the actual favorite here in this fight. So if you're looking to lock up some free money, if you're looking to have a sweat-free night and you got in with me on Belbita, you can hedge out at this point on Goldy. She should hit plus 100 even money here pretty quickly, or you can just lay minus 105 or something like that and get out of it if you're a little scared of how tanky she is. Now, she can probably control Belbita physically speaking, but we have yet to see Goldy actually shoot a takedown, so that would be a massive, massive change up in anything we've seen from her, and she's not much of a finisher on the feet, so even if she is bigger, stronger, more athletic, more explosive, she really doesn't hit that hard. She kind of relies on these little flick kicks out there, so I'm taking too long. I'm on Diana Belbita. I agree with her being even money here in this spot, so riding with the value on her as a big, big underdog, even though Goldy looked absolutely massive. We'll see just how well she can fill back up, because this is her first time cutting all the way down to 115, and she was massively sucked out. Next fight up, Sijara Eubanks taking on UFC newcomer Elise Reed. Both women came in at 125 on the dot. Sijara Eubanks had a mean mug going on. She looked absolutely shredded, much like Hannah Goldy. Big, big woman, very muscular, very, very, very intimidating, and had a hard time reaching 125 in the past. She looked absolutely jacked and shredded, sucked out, getting down to this weight class, but she moved well, so I'm not concerned with it or anything like that. Now, Elise Reed, nothing to report. She was wearing a rash guard, first time weighing in on the UFC scales. Really hard to tell if there was any type of an issue or anything. She made weight easy. She's a fighter that looks like she could get down to 115 if she wanted to. Big size advantage for Sijara Eubanks, and Sijara looked intense at the face-offs. I am sold on Sijara Eubanks here in this spot, maybe even taking a shot at her inside the distance. I might be playing that under 2.5 that I talked about earlier in the week, because I do think that Sarge is out for blood here in this fight, taking on someone who's low on the experience side of things. Julio Arce taking on Andre Ewell. Both men came in at 135.5, and honestly, both guys looked excited to be there. Julio Arce gave a big, big smile. He's excited. He's jacked up. Andre Ewell literally danced his way onto the stage and danced his way off. These guys are in good spirits and ready to go. Andre Ewell came in rocking the afro for the face-offs. They size up really well. I mean, Andre Ewell's always got that freakish reach advantage, but when it comes to the height, when it comes to the body size, the shoulders, like, they both match up really, really well. So I still kind of lean with favorite or pass on this spot, but I just don't want to lay minus 200. I know Andre Ewell's been making some serious improvements. Didn't see anything here on the scales that's going to tip me one way or the other. Mickey Gall taking on Jordan Williams. Mickey Gall came in at 169.5. Jordan Williams came in at 170.5. Mickey Gall looked really solid. It looks like he's added on some muscle. Dude's got abs for days, really long midsection. Jordan Williams looked really sucked out in his face. Now, we know he's a guy at 185 who really didn't cut a whole lot of weight. This is his first time dropping down to 170. He is a diabetic. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can put on the weight like everybody else can and come in and have some size and strength and speed on fight night, because he looked pretty awful on the scales today. He looked really relieved when they read off the weight, because I think this was an absolute battle for him to get down to 170. Gall was wearing shoes, so he did have a significant size advantage, but we got to take that with a little grain of salt, because he was standing in front of a guy wearing flip-flops. You can always see a little bit of extra height coming from those standard shoes with the nice big soles on them and stuff like that. But it was a good face-off. It was intense. These guys are really both ready to go. I like my fight doesn't go the distance rather than picking a side. I think someone's just going to get put to sleep. Next fight, Nassourdine Imavov taking on Ian the Hurricane Heinisch. Both men come in at 185.5. Nassourdine looked focused. He gave a big flex and made me a little nervous about my Ian bet. Now, Ian came in, gave a massive flex of his own. This dude is a brick freaking wall. Ian Heinisch, I always forget how big this dude's back and chest are, and it's always just a shock when he gets up there on the scale because you just forget how ridiculously thick this guy is. Height and reach advantage obviously go to Imavov, but Ian looked intense. This was a good face-off. I can't wait for this fight. I'm on Ian Heinisch. I'm in at minus 150. There's just been a slight tick of a line move towards Ian. He's about minus 155 at this point, so not a whole lot of movement on this one, and it actually looks like some money's coming in at this point on Ian. He's about minus 165 now, so that line is starting to move. Never mind. Looks like we got in there and we beat a decent little line movement. Makes me feel a little bit better. Punahele Soriano taking on Brendan Allen. Both guys came in at 185.5, and Puna looked absolutely massive. He did the back flex. I can't do it for you. He did the traps. He came out, and dude is absolutely jacked. Now, he did upload an Instagram video of himself making himself vomit, like sticking his finger in the back of his throat to like throw up, and I really hope that's not part of his normal weight cutting routine because that can't be healthy for you. Brendan Allen came in, nothing flashy, came in with his hand on his chest. I mean, he looks really like he's ready to rock. A little bit dialed in, very, very muted compared to normal, but I think he knows what's at stake here. I think he needs a win. These guys came in, faced off. Allen has a huge height and reach advantage. I mean, I didn't realize how much bigger than Punahele Soriano he really is. Brendan Allen always surprises me with how big he is. You'd think I would remember one of these times, but every time we go to face-offs, I'm like, geez, this dude's tall. Both guys were doing crazy eyes at each other, though. It was a really intense face-off. I don't know how long this fight is going to last, no matter who ends up winning it, because both these guys are coming for blood. Adrian Yanez taking on Randy Costa, the snack fight of the evening. Yanez came in at 135.5, Costa 135 on the dot. Both guys absolutely jacked, both guys smiling, both guys calm, both guys confident. They were joking around with each other at the face-offs. This is a very friendly fight. I like this fight. I can't wait to see this fight. I feel like the line is a little bit too wide, but at the end of the day, I just couldn't bring myself to bet on Randy Costa because he does kind of feel like a round one or bust type of fighter, and Yanez is a guy that I really like, and I don't want to find myself on the opposite side of. Miranda Maverick taking on Maycee Barber. Intense women's fight here. Lots on the line for these two women. Both of them came in at 125.5. Miranda Maverick, thick as ever. We know she's a beast. Maycee Barber came in. She gave a big flex. She moved well. And when they faced off, size advantage goes to Maycee Barber. This is one where I talked about this fight being a mirror match. These two are both extremely similar in their body types, in the way that they fight, like both of them having grappling and just physicality edges. And this is where I always kind of leaned to Maycee Barber. I've been saying it all week that I lean to Maycee Barber. There's a lot of heat right now on Miranda Maverick, but I'm not sold on her just yet. And when they faced off, the fact that Barber has a size advantage, again, not always, but usually size equals strength advantage, and the fact that Maycee Barber is physically explosive and powerful, if she's able to control Miranda Maverick, Maverick does not have a path to victory in this fight. So I lean even more dog or pass at this point, and I might even end up taking that shot by Saturday. We'll see what ends up happening and how much degenerate action I feel like having, because I'm all over this card. It was an intense face-off, and Maycee looked absolutely wild in her eyes. Like, she knows her whole reputation and future with the UFC is on the line here in this spot, and that's something I always like to get behind. Those must-win situations for fighters, I like banking on those. Darren Elkins taking on Darrick Minner. Elkins came in at 146. Minner came in at 145.5. And classic Darren Elkins, he never looks overly impressive on the scales. This is not the guy that you want to pick a fight with in the bar because he will wreck you, and he never looks like he's anything special. So nothing really to report there. Dude made weight. Darrick Minner came in. He looks in great shape. He's much more cut up and jacked than Elkins is. He moved really well, jogged off the scale, so I've got really no read here besides my original read coming in. And I still think that Darrick Minner is a guy that really goes hard in round one, and it's round one or bust for this guy. So size advantage goes to Elkins. We knew that coming in. We know he's a wrestler. We know he's a grinder, and he's got a great gas tank with 15 full minutes of gas. So I still like my spot. This is dog or pass to me. I'm on Elkins. It was a respectful face-off, and I didn't see anything that would change my mind. It only reinforced how I feel this fight's going to play out. Co-main event time. Unfortunately, we lost the ladies' fight. Aspen Ladd and Maycee Chiasson are off the card, so I lose my bet where I beat another line movement. That doesn't feel good. But Kyler Phillips taking on Julio Paiva. Both guys came in at 135.5. Another good, solid fight. Honestly, Kyler Phillips looked a little bit shaken up on the stage. I'm not trying to read too far into this, but it looks like he had a slight limp and grabbed his hip as he was getting off the stage. And the fact that he looked so relieved when they called that weight, I kind of got to feel like maybe he struggled with this weight cut. Maybe he's got a bit of a problem. Julio Paiva, on the other hand, looks solid on the scales. I mean, he's coming up a weight class. He looks like he added some muscle. He looked very comfortable. These guys size up extremely well. The big difference is the thickness on the back of Kyler Phillips. This guy, you can tell he's a grappler by nature because he's got that giant turtle shell of a back with those muscles. Good, intense stare down. These guys are both going to bring it. I love this fight. I can't wait to see whether or not Paiva can swim up at 135. And I think this line is way too wide. Again, I haven't pulled the trigger yet because money just keeps pouring in on Kyler Phillips. But I think this line is a bit disrespectful of Julio Paiva. It's a spot where I think Kyler Phillips probably should win, but I just can't justify a 3-to-1 price tag on him here in this spot. Paiva's better than that. But we'll see what ends up happening on Saturday, and I'm not quite sure I'll get to the window on that one. But lean is just kind of dog or pass for betting, and just a small shot on the dog or pass if you go there. Main event time, Cory Sandhagen taking on TJ Dillashaw. Both guys came in at 136 on the dot. Cory Sandhagen, no emotion. First guy on the scales, very focused, intense, ready to go. TJ Dillashaw, I'll be honest with you guys. Now look, you all know I'm backing TJ Dillashaw in this spot, and I'm not going to talk up my side of the fight just to try and sway people or let you know that I'm right. He looked tired. He looked worn out on the scales, and you all know that's something I usually keep an eye out for and like to try to fade. But with TJ Dillashaw, he's coming out here after 2 years. He's coming out after trying to suck himself down to 125, something he never should have done in the first place. And after 2 years, he's making his first weight cut down, and it looks like he's put on some muscle. It looks like he's embracing the fact that he's never going to 125 ever again, and he knows he needs to be bigger, thicker, stronger. And because of that, it looks like he had maybe a bit of a rough weight cut. Now, he made the weight. That's all that matters. He's a guy with a ton of experience, so it's not enough for me to buy into fading him just because he looked a little worn out after his first true weight cut in 2 years of competing. It was a good face-off. These guys obviously have a problem with each other. Very intense. Height and reach advantage, Cory. We all know that coming in. The guy's got a height and reach advantage over literally anybody. He was wearing shoes. That's one thing we do want to note, that even though he looked absolutely massive at the face-offs, take about an inch off of that. A little bit of that was him wearing shoes versus TJ. I think TJ was barefoot. Either that or he was wearing flip-flops. Either way, we got to just pump the brakes just a tiny touch. So I'm on TJ Dillashaw here in the main event. I think this line is ridiculously wide. I think we're disrespecting one of the legends of the sport. I know a lot of people have a lot of hate and anger for this guy because he cheated. He's coming back from a suspension, and I get all of that. But if you throw all that emotion and anger and hatred out the window, the fact that we're getting one of the best bantamweight fighters of all time who never actually lost his belt coming back and trying to fight for redemption, there's a lot on the line here for TJ Dillashaw. There have been some rumors going around online. I've seen the tweets about him having a limp. There was no limp on the stage. Now, he could suck it up and he could force himself not to limp for, a quick little 5 minutes of the face-offs or something. But I saw no limp. So there's rumors flying around that he's hurt. I don't see any evidence of it, and until somebody points me in the direction of a legitimate source that he actually is hampered in this fight, I'm not buying in. So I'm on TJ, for better or for worse. I'm willing to go out on my shield here. I'm willing to go down with the ship because there's value on this fight. TJ Dillashaw, if this were a regular fight happening right now, if it weren't for the PED narrative, this would be a pick'em, or TJ Dillashaw would be the favorite as the defending champion of this weight class. So, got to take the value where it's at here. That's the Undefeated Post weigh-in show, folks. If you're really looking for anything juicy, the size of Hannah Goldie really kind of surprised me. I'm not overly comfortable on my Diana Belbita bet, but that was a value shot because it should have been a pick'em in the first place, so not a whole lot to read into there. Sijara Eubanks looked incredible at 125. I do think she's going to be a problem. The only issue is she's a minus 400 favorite at this point, so there's not a ton of value there. If there's another favorite on the card that you like, I wouldn't mind parlaying her. I may be taking a shot at the under 2.5 at plus money, or even Sijara Eubanks inside the distance on this fight. I still like Julio Arce, favored or pass in my opinion. I still like Ian Heinisch. That line is moving. If you're rocking with me on Ian, get there before it disappears. Randy, Costa, Adrian, Yanez. Yanez, lean. Line is too wide again. Probably not betting it. Brendan Allen, Soriano. Maybe an under. Maybe a violence bet there in that spot. I'm not picking a fight, but I kind of lean to Brendan Allen. I feel like everyone's a little too high on Puna, but he's the type of guy that can knock you out with one shot. Clip you absolutely anywhere. Mickey Gall, Jordan Williams, absolutely violence. You know, if Jordan Williams had a bad weight cut, it's only going to help the violence bet. So love the under there in that spot. Lean to Maycee Barber, especially now that all the Miranda Maverick money has come back in, giving us a good line. I might get there at plus 125 or plus 130 on Barber. Darren Elkins, definitely dog or pass. Still like Elkins here in this spot. And we're about caught up here. So there you go. That's the Undefeated Post Weigh-In Show. Good luck, everybody, on all your degenerate action. Hit me up here on YouTube in the comments section or on Twitter if you want to talk about these fights a little further. And subscribe to Pub Sports Radio if you haven't done so already. We will see you tomorrow. Hope you cash your tickets. Let's roll.